Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of Invisible Walls on GameTrailers.com. I'm Shane Satterfield, editor-in-chief for the site, and along for the ride this time we have Ryan Stevens, our managing editor. What's up, man?
Not much. Pleasure to be here.
Patrick Morales, associate editor for GT.com. What's up, Pat?
Hey, how's it going?
We have Justin Spear, our previews editor, sitting in. What's up, Justin?
Hi.
And a guy who was absent last week, out on assignment, Daniel Bloodworth. What's going on, man?
I'm doing good.
On this week's episode, we have a smorgasbord, a veritable potpourri of content.
Also cornucopia.
Cornucopia, that's another good word. There was tons of events last week, and we're going to talk to you guys about all the games we were able to check out. Among those are StarCraft 2, which I know a lot of people are excited for. We went to a Gamecock event in Texas called EIEIO. I got to check out Mario Kart this past week. We'll move on to news. Then we're going to run through Rainbow Six Vegas 2, which we've all had a chance to play. Our favorite segment from the show, well, at least mine, Head to Head. We're bringing that back again this week. And we'll cap off the show with one-word reviews, and this week's target is Condemned 2. Patrick, you're a big StarCraft fan. You went to check it out at Blizzard's campus last week. What were your impressions of your first chance getting to play it?
Well, I really liked it from what I played. Back in the day, I used to play a lot of Brood War. Zerg was one of the races that I like to play the most, and fortunately, the event was centering on the Zerg. So it's really nice to see how much that style of play has progressed over the years, just to see what it's like in StarCraft 2. There's so many different things with the units, with the buildings. It's almost like playing a new game, but even if you've played the original StarCraft, you could definitely pick up really quickly with what you're playing in StarCraft 2.
What really is the difference? Because people keep saying, there's all these things that change the game, but as someone who just looks at the gameplay footage or whatever, it doesn't look that much different to me.
There are just so many little things about it that make it almost an entirely different game. The units, for one, are really different. With the Zerg in particular, the Queen, which was not really a huge unit that everyone liked to use back in the day, but I could see it playing a bigger role in StarCraft 2. You can only have one at a time. And instead of creep colonies, you would lay these little eggs with the Queen, and that would act as like these little turrets. Other new units like the Roach, which is one of the new ones that they're putting in for the sequel, it's kind of a mix between the Hydralisk in that it's a range attack, and the Zergling, which is kind of like the basic Zerg unit. I guess the gimmick with that is that it has a really fast regen rate. So with those little things in mind, you could definitely pick up on some kind of the new strategies and meta strategies that'll form from the StarCraft 2 style of play. So I think there's a lot of like little subtle things about it that are different, but at the same time it retains the same style and feel of the original.
I think the videos they've released so far have been pretty well done. They kind of show rock, paper, scissors balance, and they show a lot of different scenarios, and this is trumped by this, and this is trumped by that. So, it's kind of interesting to watch. I mean, I like strategy games. I didn't play a whole lot of StarCraft, but it looks interesting.
We are the Swarm.
Now, Bloodworth, you went to Texas to check out Gamecock's big event.
Yes, I did.
EIEIO 8. What was the one game there that impressed you, if there was one?
The farthest one along is probably Legendary, and it's a FPS, but they're wanting to do more of, not having to be into precision aiming so much as running around, dodging enemies, and using other strategies like getting one enemy to attack another enemy and having enemies flank you all the time or bust through walls and that kind of thing.
Legendary is definitely the most improved title because it's no longer called Legendary the Box.
The box.
It's probably one of the worst titles ever.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I think the stuff we saw at EIEIO, some solid looking stuff, but most of it looked like it needed a good bit of work still.
Yeah, a lot of it, they didn't want to show me Section 8, for instance, because they're coming out end of 2009.
All right, next we're going to talk about Mario Kart for the Wii. I got to check the game out yesterday. Went over to check it out with Nintendo. I guess my initial impressions are kind of lukewarm. There's bikes in the game now. From my experience, they didn't really handle much different than the karts. And probably my biggest complaint is how they've changed power sliding. There's actually settings in there now where you can set it to manual or automatic, which means basically you just go around a turn and it just starts power sliding. On manual, it's still not the manual power sliding that Mario Kart vets would be used to. It's not like that anymore. Basically, just hold the power slide button, you start power sliding, and then you can just visibly see it building up on its own, and then you just release it and you get your turbo boost. So I feel like it's sacrificed a good bit of depth in using that sort of that power side.
How does that
mechanic.
compare? But you were playing with the Wiimote, right? And you had
Yes.
the little wheel.
Nintendo would
thing?
not let anyone play with anything but the Wii Remote snapped into the steering wheel.
And that's using tilt, right?
Yeah.
So how did that compare versus like Excite Truck or other like first-party stuff?
Oh, honestly, it was not good. Like literally, it was.
You're gonna bust out your GameCube controller.
Oh yeah, it's definitely another case of Smash Brothers where you're going to want to pull out a controller with an analog stick.
How did it look visually?
I think it's a cut below Double Dash, and a lot of that probably has to do with the fact that there's more racers on screen in the time now. It runs really smoothly. It runs at a nice clip. It never slows down or anything. The animations are pretty good. There's tricks in the game now, which is something I haven't mentioned yet. And each character has like 2 or 3 tricks from what I could tell.
Do they do anything, or is it just cosmetic?
They give you a turbo boost, yeah.
Okay.
So if you land a trick,
so
you
have
get
to
some
do
turbo.
them, basically? Part of the gameplay?
I guess maybe that is replaced skill-based power sliding. I don't know.
I can't believe they took out the hop. I'm shocked.
I
'Cause
know.
Hopping around is
Wait,
fun.
can
You
you
can
still
hop over
can you still
things,
jump
No.
though?
hop through the
No,
mud.
there's
You
no
feel like
hop.
you're going a little faster.
Oh,
Yeah, and then the one thing that was cool about some of the new tracks is they incorporate more of the abilities that you have in the new game. So, for instance, like there's one part where there's a bunch of huge mushrooms, and you have to physically hop over the mushrooms over a gap, which is something you never would have really done in Mario Kart games before. So, it's
how are you hopping if you don't have a jump button?
well, when you land on the mushroom, it shoots you up into the air.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
They're like bouncy mushrooms.
Yeah,
Oh no, okay, yeah, I saw that.
And
I
is that
mean-
Block for It was back? Is that in one of the trailers, or is it something?
it
similar to
wasn't blocked
for
for it. It was.
And it never will be.
Yeah, I wish it were, man.
Well, it'll be interesting to see how some of the old shortcuts work without a hop.
Yeah, it's true. Like the one beach level from Mario Kart 64, where if you were really skilled, you could go up that skinny little ramp and hop through the cave and basically cut off half the track.
Without using a mushroom.
Is there any new items or anything?
Yeah, there's a bunch of new items, actually.
Oh, yeah?
They wouldn't show us many of them, but I think they said there's 4 brand new items that are going to be in the game. There's like a POW block, I guess, that you can lay down. I'm not quite sure what it does, but he mentioned a POW block. So next up, we have the news. Actually, some really big news stories to talk about this week. First of all is an odd return program for Haze in Canada, or as I like to say, Canada. Justin, you're a Canuck. What's the story? What's the story with Haze in Canada, man?
Yeah, I'm a permanent resident. Well, it's basically... I'm not a citizen. I wasn't born there, but it's a cool place.
Yeah.
Basically, you can buy Haze. You play it for a week, you give it back, you get the full trade-in value. So it has all the marketing, so it's got to be a scam. There's some bold and innovative asshole in marketing definitely thought, hey, what can we do? How can we squeeze more money out of this?
How do you make money off of that, though?
I think
you're getting all
I know
your
what
money
it
back.
is. It's kind of tough to puzzle it through, but I think it's a good promotion for Haze. I mean, you're encouraged to pre-order Haze because you don't have to pay for it. But what EB Games gets is, okay, they buy a title, you get it back. They can sell that as a used title. There's no one coming in the second week and buying a new copy. Oh, there are no used copies? I can't get it for cheaper. I can't give EB Games 100% profit margin. I'll just pick up the new copy. It's only like $5 more or whatever, right? So that's a scam. Basically, it seems to me they're kind of screwing the publisher. But on one hand, you get good pre-orders for a week. It's kind of like a deal with the devil.
I can't understand the logic behind this at all. They're buying the game, they take it home, they play it, they beat it, they bring it back, and they get all their money back.
No, they don't get their money back. They get a store credit. So the money is
there's
still
the
with
catch.
EB.
So you just get a store credit. You don't get your money back.
Right.
You don't get a refund.
Right.
What do you guys think? You think it's going to work? You think it's just another way for EB to milk more money out of used games?
It's going to work.
I think it's both.
Yeah.
No, they definitely know what they're doing. And I mean, I wouldn't say, hey, what are you doing not buying a new copy? I mean, if you can buy it, then get it back and get it for cheaper, I mean, that's your right as a consumer to do it.
So today the new MPD numbers came out for February. I don't know if they were all that surprising, considering we had got a press release from Microsoft about a week ago saying that they weren't able to fill the channels with product.
Well, what's the actual number that they sold?
The actual numbers that Microsoft sold were 254,000 units.
Compared to...
Compared to, on the PlayStation 3, 280,000 units, so it's not far behind. But then compared to the Wii, it sold 432K So just total domination all around. Also, I should mention the DS sold almost 600,000 units in February, which is just unreal. So back to the 360, though. I mean, how can it, 2 months after Christmas, you're still not able to satisfy demand?
I don't know. Maybe they are quality checking them a little bit more closely, and so they have to get rid of a third of them before they ship them.
I like to think they've ran out of like red LEDs.
Well, I'll say this much. I just had to send in my second Xbox 360 to get it repaired / replaced. I know the last time they said they repaired it, and I know it wasn't mine because the scuff mark on my box was missing. They just replaced it. So I guess that's it. Red Ring of Death. They can't supply. Red Ring of Death. They can't supply enough consoles. That's it.
Works for me.
Okay.
Could be spin. You never know.
Now, there is some interesting stuff in the NPD report as far as software is concerned. First of all, Call of Duty 4, again, was number one. They sold another 300,000 units in February just for the 360 of that game, which is it's just turned into a juggernaut. Why do you guys think that game has become so huge? I mean, it's destroying Halo 3 at this point. Well, what is it about the game?
Experience points. I mean, I know Halo's got the whole levels and, you can get promotions and stuff, but when you're actually killing people and you see these very primal urge that these numbers, that you're getting these numbers and I'm adding them to my XP and I can fall down this well and get some extra points. It's like a quest.
Cavemen actually chalked up their XP on the cave walls after they killed the enemy.
I've heard that from you right
Very
now.
deep-seated, yeah.
And the perks, you think the perks have a lot to do with it?
Makes it easier to be a douche. Yeah, could be.
What, the perks? You mean like martyrdom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I use martyrdom, and I know I'm a big
Everybody
douchebag.
does. Why wouldn't you? You get so many, you double your points as soon as you start using martyrdom.
Well, I guess part of the appeal with Call of Duty 4 is that it gives people a long-term project to work on. It's not like Halo 3 where, I'll just, play a quick game or two and then put it down. With Call of Duty 4, I could level up my character and I can make different kinds of characters. Kind of like World of Warcraft.
It's that
in a
MMO
way.
philosophy.
Yeah,
It is.
it's like an
Getting people
MMO.
addicted.
I mean, like, once you get that cool new helmet in WoW, you're going to want to get those cool new shoulder pads or what
Right.
have you. So I guess just having a goal to work with is, part of the appeal.
Yeah, they really nailed it, man. They figured out that multiplayer is what really gives games like that legs, and they found a way to really hook people in and keep them hooked. Some other interesting stuff, Wii Play, once again, 300,000 more units sold of Wii Play. It may end up being the best-selling
Controller.
game, I'll say that in quotation marks, of this generation. And then here's a couple big surprises, actually. One, Devil May Cry 4 on the 360 and the PS3 basically sold dead even. It's like 10,000 units difference or something like that. So why do you guys think that is with that huge user base?
I think I have a friend who has both systems, but he has, kind of this PS3 fanboy mentality. Where like, Devil May Cry is PlayStation's game.
Yeah.
So he buys the PlayStation version, despite the fact that he knew that there were things that were a little bit better on the 360 version.
Well, actually, I played the PS3 version for our review, and I played it purely for the controller because I didn't like having to use the bumpers on 360 for a game like that has needs split-second timing. So that's why I chose to play the PS3 version myself. So anyway, some interesting stuff in the NPD report. Another interesting tidbit is that when I got the press release from Microsoft today, at the very bottom is almost like a postscript. This is what the press release says. P.S. In case you were wondering, Microsoft is not currently in talks with Sony or the Blu-ray Disc Association regarding integrating Blu-ray into the Xbox 360 experience. And here's the big quote. Games are what are driving consumers to purchase game consoles, and we remain focused on providing the largest and best library of blockbuster games available. So, how do they explain the HD DVD drive then?
And the downloadable Disney movies and everything else. Yeah, I think they'll probably pass on the 360 most likely and just wait for the next system. I mean, they'll have a hard time trying to do it the next generation in just standard DVD.
All right, next we're going to talk about Rainbow Six Vegas 2. The first Rainbow Six Vegas I was a big fan of. I reviewed it for the site, gave it a nice score. Ended up playing that game online for probably way too many hours. You guys have all had a chance to play it. What are your impressions? Patrick, you played the multiplayer. That's probably what most people keep coming back for more when they play that series. Mm-hmm. What do you think of it?
I liked it. You could definitely tell that they took some cues from games like Call of Duty 4 this time around. They have this rudimentary experience system where as you do certain things like close quarters kills or blind fire, you would earn points towards certain stats that you'd build up, and then you can get more gear, customize your guns, things like that. So that's kind of cool. The thing that I like the most though from multiplayer was one of the new modes, which is, I forget the name, but it involves having a captain basically, and for that team you're supposed to protect that captain at all costs. And it's kind of neat because as you kill members of the other squad, they'll respawn kind of slower, but if you kill their captain off, they won't respawn at all.
So it's kind of like a VIP mode that we've
Kind
seen
of.
in some other games.
Yeah, I think they might call it VIP. I'm not totally sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that was kind of cool. Yeah, and just little things like being able to sprint this time around. It's pretty fun. Helps add to the strategy, and I liked it overall. It was fun.
What do you think, Justin? You got to play a good bit of it.
Well, I guess it's the team, coming back to Vegas to finish their unfinished business and, kind of cash in on a sequel. But I think if people like the first game, it's pretty much the same stuff. They've definitely listened to fans. They're making improvements. So, it ought to be a pretty decent experience.
All right, next up is the competitive part of the show. This segment is called Head to Head. This week we have returning champion Ryan Stevens here to defend his crown.
Go me.
And his opponent this week is associate editor Daniel Bloodworth. Are you ready, man?
Okay.
All right, and again, you have 30 seconds. And the first question is, should Take-Two sell to EA? Ready? Go.
Okay. I don't think that they should, and I have a hard time believing that they will. They seem pretty confident in themselves, and they've got Grand Theft Auto and everything that's backing them. And I think that they're going to try to remain independent as long as possible and do their own thing and not give in to somebody else's control. And, EA will probably, assimilate them into getting their smaller teams to make, different versions of Madden on old systems.
All right, that's 30 seconds. Nice job, Bloodworth. Now, Stevens, you've had some time to formulate your opinion on this topic.
Mm-hmm.
Next round, Bloodworth will have some time to think about his response. Are you ready? Go.
I think they shouldn't because EA just buys everyone, and I like having more companies and more choice. And anyway, Rockstar's probably going to split off at some point and be their own little company, and then Take-Two will just be sad and alone. And then they'll want to go to EA, and they'll make an interesting sort of story, and then we can have more conversations about this in the near future. And what's good for news is good for us, because that's our industry. And I think I'm hopefully out of time soon. God damn.
All right, that's 30 seconds. Both good responses from you guys, I have to say. I think you guys both, you didn't have a whole lot of time to think about it, but I think you both formulated convincing arguments. Both arguments were kind of the same, but I think I got to give Bloodworth a little bit of an advantage on this because he picked up on the Rockstar aesthetic, which was they want to have control. Bloodworth, I'll give you an 8. Stevens, I'll give you 7. Stevens, this time you have to answer the question first, which will give Mr. Bloodworth some time to think about his response. Question number 2. Should Microsoft incorporate Blu-ray into the 360? Ready. Go.
Yes, they should, because HD DVD is dead. You have games like Metal Gear Solid 4, which may supposedly be taking up close to an entire Blu-ray disc, and no one wants to put in multiple discs. I mean, Lost Odyssey already shipped on 4 DVDs, and that was kind of lame. That reminds me of playing like old games and switching floppies and crap like that, and it's no fun. Also, I want to watch high-definition movies on my HD TV, and I don't want to plug a bunch of extra crap into my TV. Give me one big box.
All right. It's 30 seconds. That was a good response. All right, Bloodworth, you've had some time to think about it. Ready. Go.
I don't think that they should. I think that putting Blu-ray on the 360 is probably going to fragment the base and make a lot of confusion. And I also think that now that they've been out for about 3 years, they should already be working on the next system. And that means that all of those talks with Sony and the Blu-ray group, they're going to have to be doing those for their next system because they don't have any other choice now. And HD DVD is out the window. They don't need another peripheral.
Wow, that was excellent. He actually picked up on something you did in there, Stevens, was fragmenting the user base. Which
Yeah,
is
I actually contradicted myself from what I said earlier in the show. So
Yeah, I
that's
know.
cool too.
Yeah. Still, your response was pretty good. I thought it was pretty logical, but Bloodworth, I think you made some really good points there. I'm going to give you that one as well. I'm going to give you a 9. Stevens, I'm going to give you, I think you still did pretty well. I'll give you an 8. Here's the last question. Question number 3. Why is Kaz Hirai moving up so quickly at Sony? Ready. Go.
Kaz Hirai is moving up so quickly at Sony because everyone else is leaving.
My answer.
And Phil Harrison just left, and he's been around for a while, so I think he's just naturally the next pick, the next suitable leader. And that's about all I know about the situation.
All right, there's your 30 seconds. This could be a huge advantage. Now, see, the thing here is, with question number 3, I always try to make them questions that maybe seem hard to answer. That way you really see who can sort of pull something out of their ass for the final round.
Something is getting pulled out of my ass.
Last week it was the E3 question. This week it is, why is Kaz Hirai moving up so quickly at Sony? Ready, go.
Kaz Hirai has a list of Sony executives who have slept with prostitutes. I really don't think I have to say much else. It's a simple case of blackmail. Why do you think? No, I'm not saying Phil Harrison, but he is going to France. They have a liberal view of this sort of thing. I'm going to get sued for slander, I'm sure, after this is put up. But I have it on good authority through. I can't reveal my source. And
that was quite possibly the worst response ever. It almost seemed like you were trying to throw the competition. So anyway, I still have to give out scores for that round. At least Daniel answered the question intelligently. But here's a twist.
Animal shapes instead of numbers.
Since I think Ryan just totally tanked the competition and intentionally lost,
I was going to originally make it
I'm going to
for
give
ninjas.
Ryan a score of 74 for that round. And Daniel Bloodworth, you'll get a score of 5. So anyway, come back next week when Ryan Stevens will attempt to defend his crown once again against all comers. It's one-word review, and the target this week is Condemned 2. Stevens, you've had some time to play with the game. What's your one-word review of Condemned 2?
Eldritchy, which is a portmanteau of Eldritch and Itchy.
Okay. Patrick, what's your one-word review for Condemned 2?
Dark.
Justin Spear, what's your one-word review for Condemned 2?
I'm going to hyphenate a word again. Anti-amnesty. No amnesty for anyone. Only punishment. Blood, blunt edges colliding with faces, stuff like that. That's
Okay.
like hyphens.
All right. Bloodworth, what is your one-word review for Condemned 2?
Ouch. I want to cover my eyes when I see people playing that game.
Why is that? 'Cause you're scared?
No, it's just that brutal.
It is brutal.
Yeah.
And that actually was my one-word review for Condemned 2. So that is episode 2 of Invisible Walls here on GameTrailers.com. Head on over to invisiblewalls.gametrailers.com. And what can they do there, Ryan?
They can read our bloggish sort of note thing. They can leave comments. They can post first and maybe annoy us or maybe get a bean. I don't know.
They could ask questions too, right?
They can ask questions. And if your question's good enough, we may even dissect it and make fun of you here on Invisible Walls.
Once again, another exciting edition of Invisible Walls. We're a weekly show, so check us out next Thursday. We'll see you next week. Adios.